The Spyderco Paramilitary 3 knife is currently my favorite from the Spyderco company. Actually, maybe my favorite knife overall. This is the first one I picked up, the lightweight model. After I got this, I found out there's I guess the regular model is a lot more customizable than the lightweight. I think there's a couple things you can do to the lightweights, but if you want to change the scales and do a bunch of fancy stuff to them, you're going to want the regular Paramilitary 3. Anyway, this is the first one I picked up. Love this knife. Problem I had with it, like every other Spyderco knife I've got, is that it's just too expensive. I think I paid around 120 bucks for this. And yeah, that's just too much for me. So this is kind of a safe queen now. I can't afford to carry that around and worry about messing it up. So then, gosh, I don't know what I got next. Maybe I got this guy next. Now this guy though is a counterfeit. So this probably only cost me like 25 bucks. I don't actually remember the price, but it wasn't very much. But this is garbage. Because you see here, if you just squeeze on the scales, it crunches down. And you may say, well, gosh, you're not going to do that while you're using the knife. Yeah, you do. You squeeze down on the knife if you're bearing down on it to cut something hard. And you can actually pinch your delicate little fingers in there when you're squeezing down on the knife, because those squeeze down so easily. Of course, being a counterfeit, the blade steel isn't what it says it is. It's obviously not made in Golden, Colorado, USA earth. Well, at least the earth part is right. Materials on this overall just don't feel quite right. The clip doesn't feel quite right. The scales, I guess, is the biggest part that don't feel right. The blade, I have no idea, because I never really carried this after feeling how the scales felt. I don't know how good this blade material is. It might be a good blade steel that's just not what it says it is. I'm sure it's not BD1N. But anyway, I wouldn't recommend picking this up. I don't think it's worth carrying. But where China has really become a problem is with the regular Para 3s. These knives, I regret to have to tell you, these knives are fantastic. The centering on them is great. The smoothness, they get the bearings in here. They operate well. They look pretty decent. I don't know if they're exact copies of the original. They're pretty darn close though. The finishing around the lock is not always so great, but this is a real problem for Spyderco, because they can make these so well, even if they're inferior materials. This is a passable user knife, so much so that this is almost the only knife I carry. I rotate some other things in, but these are cheap. I mean, these are like sub $30 knives, where the real ones are, again, probably around 120 bucks. Some are a lot more. But if you're just going to carry this around as a beater and you don't really care about the steel, as long as it's sharp, they come sharp. They are sharp. You can cut boxes or whatever you want with them. You don't have to feel bad about it. And when it goes bad, you get another one. But if you do get a bad one, like let's say this one for example, that I thought was just, it's ridiculous that these can squish down that easily. This might be a candidate to say, well, I would just return that and it wouldn't be a big deal. I don't have to worry about quality control. I'll just get them to replace it for me because it's within the return period or something from the Chinese seller. Well, I got news for you. Most of these knives, by the time they get to you, which takes usually about a month, my experience has been, by the time it gets to me, the seller doesn't have this knife anymore. And a lot of times the seller isn't even there anymore, but they definitely don't sell this knife anymore. So they're not going to be able to replace it for you, even if you can talk them into it. And a lot of them aren't even going to be there to talk to, because the whole seller just disappears. But when you get a good one, it's a good beater knife. And I've had very, very good luck with these. I think I've picked up probably maybe 6 of these, maybe more, and they are all great. Not the lightweight. Lightweight's garbage, but all of the regular, I guess, Para 3 model knives that I got from there, from China, were great. This one I modified a little bit, so don't, if you think that looks ugly around the edges, it's because I sanded the edges. I thought it was too sharp around the edges of this micarta, so I filed it off to my comfort. Again, it's a cheap knife, so I can do that, and I don't feel bad about it. I could just get another one, not from the same seller, because they're not there anymore. And I don't know if I've seen this one for a while, so I might not be able to replace this, but I could replace it with one of these, or with one of these. I get a red one here. That's pretty cool. Again, this one's great. I think that quirk that I had with this was this, when you push down on the compression lock here, this kind of bites you. There's a piece of plastic on that scale that's really sharp. Probably take that apart and file it down. So, I mean, does that really affect the operation of the knife? I guess if it really got you good and it pinched you, and you might not want to use that knife on a daily basis. It's not that bad for me. It's annoying, but it's not that bad. So here's another good beater knife. Cheap materials, I'm sure, but works fine for what I do. I mean, I'm just opening boxes and letters mostly anyway, unless I'm out in the yard digging up weeds. And then again, I don't have to feel bad for digging something up with one of these. So unfortunately for Spyderco, this is a problem. And I know they're fighting it, because those vendors are not disappearing because they're not selling knives. They're disappearing because there's some kind of legal action or something going on that I don't know about. I don't follow that scene to figure out what's going on with the Chinese counterfeit knife market. But these guys that make these things are getting shut down or moving or something as quickly as they're popping up. So I don't know. Good on Spyderco for fighting back, but I think it's a losing battle if they can keep introducing these on different markets. And you know, I can be the noble guy and never buy one of these again, but there's going to be, I don't even know how many people out there buying these things if I don't. You know, I'm not going to save the world with my my not spending money on a handful of counterfeit knives that I enjoy using on a daily basis. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think they just have to somehow stop them from coming on the market, or stop them from being sold internationally, in order to not damage the Spyderco company. But an argument against Spyderco, I'll tell you, if I couldn't have bought these knives, I might have bought one more Spyderco, maybe. I did want a regular Para 3, not the lightweight version, so I might have bought one, but I couldn't afford to buy as many as I've bought of this, nowhere near as many as I've been able to buy in the Chinese knives. And I really wish that Spyderco's bird line, I mean, it's a whole different company, I guess, that they acquired, the bird knives that are made in China primarily. I wish that they would more closely follow the Spyderco knives. So give me a bird version of this, and instead of selling it for $120, sell it for $60 or $80. I'd buy that right up. But they don't do that. Spyderco, or the bird line is what it is, and they don't seem to want to improve upon things with new designs very often. I can show you some examples of that another time, but boy, the bird knives, the scales on them are mostly pretty atrocious, at least the lightweight versions. They do have a few good knives, but man, they don't compare to the Spyderco's Para 2s and Para 3s, and I don't know. I kind of hope they expand their line on the bird products, and maybe that'll cut down on this being such an issue for their market share, because they make a good product, they have outstanding designs. And until then, I'm carrying cheap knives. I don't know about you. That's all I got. Bye.